Hi, I'm Joe Lindley. I'm with cravingsugar.net, and the topic for this video is sugar separation anxiety. I know that's a term you haven't heard before because I just came up with it. I had to come up with something to describe this, and what it is when someone's thinking about going off and doing a diet, in particular something like a low carb or a paleo diet, when they realize they're going to have to do without those sweet treats that they're used to and sugar and so forth, they all of a sudden go, no way. They just back off. And there's two parts of it. There's a part of an apprehension that they don't think they could do it. They don't think they could do without those treats. And another part is just that they don't believe it's possible. It just seems impossible that you could not live on carbs and kind of refined carbs and sweets and stuff like that. So that's what this is, and I want to talk about it because it's a barrier for many people to get involved with the low carb or paleo diets. And I was talking to my wife about it, and we've been on diets for a while, and low carb for me particularly, and we're used to this. It's not a big deal. We know you can do without treats and sweets and stuff, but we thought back, and it wasn't too long ago when we also had this same sort of feeling. We had a friend who was having some health problems, and she was going from doctor to doctor, and then they found out that she had to get off of sugar and gluten and went on this, we thought, extreme diet, and she did quite well with it. And after a little while we talked to her, and she said she was doing fine. In fact, she didn't miss the treats at all and the sugar, and we just couldn't believe it. We almost didn't believe her. It just seemed so foreign that you could do without sweets. So even then we couldn't believe this. But now I know that it is true. You can do without these treats. And so let's go back again and talk about this craving for sugar and this feeling that you can't possibly do without them. Where does that come from? A lot of it has to do with carbs themselves. They're really not natural for us. It's not normal for our body to metabolize sugar. It works, but we have defense mechanisms set up because it's not a natural way. And we've only had carbohydrates in really the recent past in terms of our genetic history. But what happens is as you eat carbohydrates or glucose, sugar of any type, if the glucose level or blood sugar level in your bloodstream gets up to a certain level, insulin kicks in. It's a hormone secreted by the pancreas. It kicks in, and what it does is remove that glucose from the bloodstream. It puts it into fat, gets it out of the way, and then that reduces the glucose level. Very simple. But the problem is if you have too many carbs, then the insulin removes too much of the sugar, and you have no blood sugar at all left in your bloodstream. You get really hungry, you're shaky almost, you're desperate to have something to eat, and that causes the cravings. And that's where these cravings come in. And unfortunately, it follows kind of an up and down thing. You feel really good when you eat, and then you feel down when you're hungry again. It's back and forth and back and forth. And it's sort of constantly reminding you that you've got to have these treats. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to rely on carbohydrates for your food. You can rely on lots of other things. And this causes an unusually high craving and almost an addiction to sugar with many people. So that's what causes it biologically. There are some other things that happen mentally, though. When people go on diets, they have to do without these treats for a while, and even though they might do really well in the diet, lose lots of weight, and when they finally got to their target weight, they often go and just have a normal life then, but gradually they get back into their old habits and they gain all the weight back plus more, because now they're gobbling up those treats they were denied so long with the diet. So it's like a vicious cycle. So that also causes this cravings for sugar, this feeling that you can't do without it. And there's another nasty little thing too, and that's called fructose. And this is a substance of half of table sugar is this, and half of fruit juices is fructose. And it's a sweetener, but what it does is that when you digest it, it goes right to your liver and goes right to fat. It never even goes to energy. And on top of that, it doesn't let you feel like you're satisfied, like you're satiated. So if you've had this feeling, which you have had in the past, where you have a big meal, a big dessert, and you're walking away and you're just so full you could pop, but you also have this feeling like you could eat again, like you're almost hungry again. And you thought, how can that be? I'm so full, but I kind of want to eat again. That's because of the fructose. So anyway, all these things combine together to make a pretty tough, almost addiction to sugar that is frightening to think about doing without it. Now the good news is with a low carb diet or a paleo diet, you can shake this addiction, and the way that works is that once with these diets you keep your carbs to such a low level. It's not exceedingly low, but it's low enough that you don't have any insulin coming in or very little of it. And so what happens is you don't have these really bad sugar lows or sugar highs, and you actually lose the need for those sweets. And so what happens is your brain is not used to seeing these sweets come in, and so after a couple of weeks your brain stops asking for it. And this happened with me. I couldn't believe it. Just the other day I was at a Starbucks, got a coffee, went back to the car, and when I got back to the car I realized that I hadn't even looked at the pastry counter. Now until then I always looked at the pastry counter. I was always over there eyeing the cupcakes or the cookies and had to sort of talk myself out of it. But since I've been on a low carb diet, I just don't even think about it. My brain is not asking me for those things. So that's the good news. You can shake this desire for these treats. Now I have to honestly say, I still would like a cupcake, but it's not something that I feel so desperate for. It's not a biological need. It's just a mental sort of thing. I miss one, it'd be nice to have one, but nothing more than that. So there is a solution there. You just need to try these diets. Now I have one last tip on this, and that's just to do it. Just try the diet. I have a little story to tell. My mother used to tell us a lot about my brother and I when we were little. We were boys, and she took us to YMCA swim camp. It was in the summer. It was in our neighborhood, and we'd go every day and take some lessons and stuff. And on the last day, it was graduation day, all the parents came, and this coach, I think it's real funny now, but I can't believe it. The coach said on the graduation day, we're all going to jump off the high diving board. Well, we had never been on the high diving board at all. But on the last day, we're going to jump off this high diving board. I thought, that's really strange. Now I think back and think it's really odd. But that's what he did. So all the parents were there, and they lined us up, and one by one we went up and jumped off the high diving board. And my brother is like a year and a half younger than I am. He's a much more independent thinker than I was in those days. And so when I was first, I went up there, and coach told me to jump off, and I followed orders. I jumped off. My brother got up there, and coach told him to jump off, and he's going, whoa, this is stupid. I'm not going to do this. And so he wasn't going to do it. And he's up there at the end of the diving board. He was balking. He was not going to do it. And so then my mother, who was down along the side of the pool, she looked up at him and gave him the look. And you know what I mean by the look. And so then he's up there, and you could see his brain was just churning away, and he's going, well, what's the consequence if I don't jump versus what's the consequence if I do jump? So he jumped. He went ahead. So my point there is just jump. Just do it. The consequences, the positive consequences of taking on one of these diets, they can really lose weight. You can really lose weight with them. You get healthier. You feel much better about yourself. And you can keep it off because it's a new way of life that's devoid of these treats that are causing so much trouble. Whereas if you don't do it, you're stuck in a constant cycle of trying to lose weight and failing, and also facing the possibility of more health problems in the future. So that's my recommendation. Just try it. And I appreciate you listening to me today, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.